Excuse me. Okay. Good morning. I'm Council Member Louis Vieira. Welcome everyone to the HART board meeting today. Please silence all electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. Welcome to the May 15, 2023 regular Board of Directors meeting, which is now called to order. The meeting format is hybrid with board directors physically present at the HART Administrative Building and participating via communication and media technology. Please stand if you're able to do so and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Or attendance.
Chair Vieira.
Here.
Director Owen.
Here.
Director Williams.
Here.
Director Castor. Director Frazier.
Here.
Director Hudson.
Here.
Director Johnson.
Here.
Director Kemp. Director Knight.
Here.
Director Myers.
Here.
Director Schisler.
Here.
Director Wolstel.
Here.
You do have a quorum, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, next is public comment. Do we have any public comment today?
We do not have anybody registered. It does not appear to have anybody in the audience as
Great.
well.
No one here in the audience for public comment? I do. Oh, there you go. Go ahead.
I apologize
No,
about that,
you're
sir.
fine. You're fine. You're fine.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Chair Vieira, Board, Mr. Drainville, members of the public. My name is Jesus. I'm here as a concerned Hillsborough County resident. First, I have two things. First, about Agenda Item 7A. HART Policy 210.05, Number 3, Item G states, persons wanting to express their opinion without addressing the board may do so in writing. I find it deeply disturbing that this board is trying to scrap that policy, whatever happened to the First Amendment and Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Second, addressing the board more generally, the community has repeatedly said that transit is one of its priorities. HART's financial problem is that transit is not a priority for the very people tasked with advocating for it. Hint, you all. A board that oversees a transit agency but doesn't understand transit and doesn't care much for it. Understanding transit is fixable. You have the expertise of 800 employees. Caring, though, about what HART does comes from within. Staff cannot help you with that, other than asking you to declare the vacancy. Board General Counsel said that HART is under a threat from Tallahassee, and that addressing the legislature's concerns should be the board's next task. I don't know about the perpetrator addressing the prosecution's concerns. Regardless of whether HART becomes a county department or whether it's outsourced, costs will continue to increase, inflation, and opportunities to optimize revenue sources will continue to be missed due to negligence. So without meaningful action, HART could be facing service cuts within the next 12 to 18 months. One of you recently said, HART is trying to preserve the service it currently offers, but you won't push for aggressive measures like millage rate increases, God forbid. Neither do you have the interest to brainstorm creative ideas to generate revenue. Tax increases are not the only strategy. You all act as if you knew it all about transportation. You don't, neither do I, neither does anybody. A board member recently said that HART needs to focus on the urban core rather than places like West Chase or Waimama. I invite you all to read HART's Transit Development Plan so that you can understand the countless hours of work that have gone into identifying the county's needs. An example of actual need, transit in Waimama. This was Kimberly Overman's pet project. As much as I dislike politicians and their pet projects, Overman wasn't just campaigning. To wrap up, Representative Castor said that without modern transit in Florida, life will become more expensive. But the state is spending almost $7 on highway construction for every dollar spent in transit. Don't ask the malnourished stepchildren to get better grades than their classmates.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
We appreciate your thoughts. Thank you. Anyone else here for public comment? Okay. Being none, we move forward to approval of the minutes. Next agenda item is approval of the minutes from the meeting on April 3rd of 2023, the regular board meeting. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Schisler, second by Councilwoman Myers. Roll call, please.
Chair Viera?
Yes.
Director Owen?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Kemp? Director Knight?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Wolstel?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Board. Next, we move to Section 4, which is the consent agenda. The Finance and Audit Committee held a meeting in a hybrid format on April 17th of 2023 to review action items 4A through 4F, and the Litigation and Claims Committee held a meeting in a hybrid format on April 24th to review the action item 4G. All items were recommended for full board of approval. Do we have any questions on these items, board members? Okay. If not, may I have a motion on these items?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Myers, seconded by Councilman Schisler. Roll call, please.
Chair Viera?
Yes.
Director Owen?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Wolstel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Next, we move to our interim chief executive officer's report. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, board members. So in the last several weeks, I've been sending out executive summaries updating the board in all areas of the organization, everything from legislative updates to employee recognitions, hoping that board finds those summaries informative. With that being said, I'd like to focus my report this month on activities engagement with HART. So on the screen, you'll see in March, we had 8 community outreach events. We held 2 Black History educational tours. And on the screen, you'll see the Garrett A. Morgan Shadow Day engagement with Middleton High School. And that was hosted by USF, Center for Urban Transportation, College of Engineering, and ComTo of Central Florida. Also, we did a 2nd annual historic Ybor City Corvette car show. And in April, HART engaged in 7 activities, 57 year to date. On the screen, you'll see the WEDU PBS Block Party and the George Edgecombe Bar Associations, where both staff and board members attended. So HART's Winner's Circle. So in March, the regional bus rodeo at PSA, over 40 of the Bay's area's best operators from Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, Manatee, and Sarasota counties showed off their skills on a timed obstacle course. Guanarix Ramos, Crystal Edwards, and Tia Allen competed in the event. Operator Edwards received 2nd place in the regional rodeo, and she's the first operator to finish first among the HOP operators. Then in April, Operator Edwards showed off her skills at the state rodeo held in Orlando, finishing 5th on the State Crown fixed route 40-foot bus rodeo against the state's best operators. And we have Employee Appreciation Event on March 17th. We celebrated our hardworking employees for Transit Worker Appreciation Day with free meals from the food trucks at the 21st Operations Facility. On Wednesday, April 12th, I joined U.S. Representative Kathy Castor and HART Board Chair Vieira for a transit town hall. We boarded the Route 12 from the Marion Transit Center to get feedback from HART commuters. Once on board, we chatted with a mix of riders on their way to work, school, and appointments. Then on April 4th, Council member and HART Board Chair Vieira conducted his second town hall with HART employees. He shared results from his trip from Tallahassee, where we stand with legislation filed to study options on HART. It is critical that we keep our HART workers in the loop and what's going on, and then to be a core of the part of the conversation. Then HART celebrated its Earth Day in April, invested in our Planet Bus Wrap. The bus wraps were part of our focus on the community-based messaging. And then hiring events update. HART held career info sessions from March 8th to March 22nd. 149 attended. Staff made 87 offers and 52 graduated. And that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments by board members?
I just wanted to say one more thing.
Yes, sir.
So, and I've talked about this for a few of the board members, that I've been meeting with Ming Gao from FDOT. And in our last meeting, we thought it would be best if with the current study that we would ask the board members to submit questions or concerns to either myself, my staff, or Ming directly, so we can really get in front of it and get those questions and concerns answered. So that was in my executive summary. So I appreciate if the board would submit some questions and concerns.
Any questions, comments on that? And I would agree with Interim Director Drainville's suggestion to have board members as active as possible in this with questions, concerns, ideas. Thankfully, if you all saw the amended legislation that the governor signed, that State Representative McClure and State Senator Burgess worked with us to, I think, make the language a little bit more even, I guess, if you will, away from more of a presumption on focusing a lot on disillusion to kind of having an all of the above approach. And what I always say is that I think we welcome some scrutiny because scrutiny, I think, will give us more ideas for improvement, right? And whatnot, but I would like to have board participation in that, so I would welcome that. Anything else?
That concludes.
Great, thank you, sir. Okay, next chair report going to be. Oh, yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Guys, just real quick, Mr. Drainville, if there's probably I think it'd be beneficial if there was a timeline kind of laid out as far as when you would like to be able to have some of the feedback from the board. So that way we, like you said, we can be on top of it. We can be on the front foot, essentially. So if there is a kind of a timeline that we could get laid out, I think it would be beneficial to all of us to know that.
Okay, I will get back with Ming and we can get a timeline set.
Sure. Thanks.
I don't mind. Yes. Thank you, sir. Anything else? Okay, we actually had a person come in late for public comment. We have Jessica Jolie.
Jessica Jolie.
Jessica.
I wasn't really prepared. I didn't know that. But I'm here on a mission.
Ma'am, if you want, you can come up. We'll give you 3 minutes.
Judge, I'm a nurse. I just got off of my shift. But,
Go ahead, and if I may, ma'am, just 1 second. Begin the clock if you don't mind. Go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Jessica Jolie. Thank you for having me. I wasn't really prepared, but I'm not here for my attire. I'm here for a mission. And my mission is that as a healthcare worker, I work very hard helping the community. And I think it's very unfortunate and inconsiderate that there's not enough transportation, meaning enough buses available at Hamilton and Waters, Himes to be exact, near Advent Hospital. I feel like there should be more buses available for healthcare professionals who are working long hours. So if this is something that you guys can look into, I would really appreciate it. I was told that they were going to initiate adding a new bus starting yesterday, and that will go into effect today, and that is not the case. So last night was really rough. Typically, I'm a little bit more put together, but again, I'm standing before people like myself, and I'm a believer. God creates us all in his image, so I'm not here for show. I'm here to be the voice for the public and see if that's anything that you guys can do on our behalf. Because right now I'm in transition. I'm a nursepreneur. There's things that I'm working on, so I don't mind riding the bus. This is something that's available to me and my goals in order to save money and pursue what it is that I'm pursuing. So I'm coming here with confidence despite how I look and all the different hiccups that are happening to advocate for people who stifle their voice because they're intimidated to come before people like yourselves. So please look into that, implementing ways to add more buses, particularly for people who work long hours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate your thoughts. Okay, next we'll go to the chair's report, and I wanted to update the board on some chair appointments that have been recently made that you all should have gotten notice of, but just for view of the public, as well as some open committee opportunities for board members that exist. At the January 6, 2023 regular Board of Directors meeting, the HART Board made its appointments to the external boards and other HART committees that required participation from the board. Following HART Board Policy 130.01, I, as chair of the HART Board of Directors, made the HART internal committee appointments. And again, like I said, you all should have gotten notice of that already. I've appointed Director Rena Upshaw Frazier as a member to the ad hoc committee to oversee the selections process for the regional, state, and federal legislative consulting and government relations services. This committee will be comprised of 3 members, Director Frazier and 2 staff members, subject matter experts, those being Angela Payne, Chief of Staff, Chief of Staff, and Lena Pettit, the Interim Director of Executive Office and Board Support. The committee will meet this week to discuss the schedule and the rules of participation. And like I said, there are still a few vacancies for board opportunities for board members, and those are Operations, Safety, and Finance and Audit. The current memberships are as follows. For the Operations and Safety Committee, we have Melanie Williams, who is our chair, Council Member Gil Chisler, who's the vice chair, Commissioner Pat Kemp, and Mr. Marvin Knight. And for the Finance and Audit Committee, there is Council Member Gil Chisler, who serves as our chair, Melanie Williams, vice chair, Commissioner Kemp, and Board Member Knight are also on that particular committee. I'd like to select or strike that to solicit interest from board members and ask you all to consider joining these committees to bring them to full membership of 5 members. As a reminder, the committees meet on the 3rd Monday of the month at 10 a.m. So if between now and the next meeting, if anyone is interested in serving on those committees, please just let me know, and we can make that occur and push it forward. So thank you very much. Any questions? I would think not. Ma'am, we'll go on to the council's report. Ms. Mandel.
Thank you. We have 2 items on the general counsel's report, and a third I'm going to just briefly talk about. As it relates to 7A and the board policy related to public comments. I was under the understanding there was an actual language in the board policies related to written comments and also the requirement that they're read into the record. Because the question was whether or not you could stop having public comment that's read into the public record. There is a policy that says you accept written comments, but not that you're required to have that read into the public record. That's just been a matter of practice. So if we want to keep the status quo as is, we don't mean to make any changes. And as the gentleman said, it's not that you would still not accept written comments. It's just that the requirement that they're read into the record is not there, and you're not required to have that happen, which is in line with your request. So I would suggest on that policy, nothing needs to proceed forward unless there is a change you would like to make.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Any thoughts from board members? Yes, sir.
As long as they're provided for us to review, I think that's all that's really important. In the agenda. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And anybody else? I agree. I mean, and I think especially it can be set up potentially for abuse if we have a particular hot topic and then, people just email and it takes up an hour of the board's time, and we shouldn't put ourselves in a position like that, I think. So, yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
So just as direction moving forward, then, the written comments no longer need to be read into the public record. However, as they come in, they should be provided in handouts to the board members prior to the meeting if they're available.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Thank you. The second item, 7B, is the employment contract with interim chief executive officer, Mr. Drainville. You've, Hal, had a chance to review it. We discussed it previously. This contains a resolution in the proposed contract. I'm prepared to answer any questions you might have. Otherwise, I would just request you to move that forward. Thank you.
Any questions from board members? Is there a motion to move forward the resolution?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Hudson, seconded by Board Member and Council Member Schisler. Roll call, please.
Chair Viera?
Yes.
Director Owen?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Wolsel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Anything else, ma'am?
And I have a third item that I just want to bring up. What had been scheduled for your discussion today was a workshop on the general counsel policy. Due to the number of items that are in your finance committee meeting, we're going to go ahead and revisit that at another time to proceed forward with that as we expressed during the last few months. We believe, from the general counsel's perspective, it's very important for us to revisit your policy on the way you get your attorney services, and I think that is a primary importance given what's going on with what's happened with the legislation. And I know that there's other conversations happening with FDOT, but I think that this is incredibly important. So we're going to go ahead and seek a day for a workshop on that. And what I'm suggesting and what we may want to do is put it a little bit further in the summer, because I think it needs to meet up with your conversations that are happening with the state, because it's part of, I believe, a bigger conversation, not only just a study of what we need to do moving forward from FDOT perspective, but your governance and your management of your organization, I think has, as we've looked at this through the last 3 years, impeded the ability for this organization to do its best work. And while the general counsel part of that, I believe, is incredibly important, because how you receive your legal services can help inform how you deal with issues as they come up. And I think your policy, and I think I've given you enough information to show how other organizations do it, your policy should be revisited on how your counsel at large is chosen. Whether it's internal or external, and how you receive those services. Other issues need to be discussed as well. So what I'm going to be asking our staff to do is go ahead and find a time, and this can actually all be done virtual, because it would really be a workshop, a date coming forward where we take, several, unfortunately it will take several hours, but I think this is very important for us to have, where we can workshop as many of the policies as possible in line with conversations that you're having with the FDOT. And as I said, it can be virtual, it can be during the summer, and something that we're just really talking through, but we'll look for a date, and all of those conversations will I think come together in terms of what we need to look at moving forward, how your organization is set up, how you get your legal services, the balance between your board and your CEO, because who sets the policy, how oversight occurs, all of those things, I think informing how you proceed forward is incredibly important. So unfortunately, we're not going to have that conversation today, and I, as you can tell, feel very passionate about this point. But I do think it's a bigger conversation. And when we started this conversation on general counsel, it was before the Florida legislature took action as it relates to HART moving forward. So that's, I just want to update you. You will be asked by staff dates that make sense for you. And like I said, it can be virtual. It does not have to, anybody who wants to come to this room certainly can, but it can be virtual, because we won't be taking action. It's really just to give us direction on what we should be bringing forward in the future.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Next, HART Board Committee reports. Those are included in the packet under Section 8. Reports from HART Board representatives are included in the packet under Section 9. And your monthly information reports are provided in Section 10, as well as the information reports in Section 11. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Okay. This concludes the regular meeting. Or yes, ma'am.
Sorry,
Commissioner Kemp, go ahead,
so
ma'am.
is this for the regular meeting?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Do you wish to make any statement or anything?
Yeah,
or?
some new
Please,
business.
Please,
I just
by all
want to get
means. Yes,
Sorry
ma'am.
that I wasn't.
You're fine. It was a quick meeting today.
Yeah,
so,
I'm
yeah.
like a little surprised here, but good. I just want, and I know Ms. Mandel, so I hope I'm not going over any other territory here, just made a statement, and I assume we're having David Adams in at our next meeting, but I almost don't want to even, frankly, wait for that till we generate a few policy things, so I'd like to just say those here now, because we've been subject to these issues more than once in my time here, and I was just kind of surprised that things have been done so different from the norm or standard operating procedures as I see. So I'd like to see if we can have brought forward whatever policies there are. To me, the fact that we had a CEO that was negotiating separated leaves with severance pay in any way that wasn't brought forward to the board individually and independently for us to approve, I find a problem. So whatever policy it is that surrounds that, I'd like to have brought forward, and I'd like to make sure that, I think normally you wouldn't think of putting guardrails on this kind of thing, because apparently only one person has a contract here at HART, as I understand, the CEO. Of course, our legal and lobbyists do, but is our CEO. And so it seems inappropriate to me that our board would not be engaged, even if it's on our consent item, in any separation and severance pay that is promised, that it wouldn't come to us for approval. The other thing is, I'd like to set in stone somewhere, because I was kind of stunned that there were separations going on and contracts for separation or severance that were being signed off on. I think the first thing that alerted me was the NDAs, the non-disclosure agreement, saying that, you wouldn't disparage HART. And my first question was, who wrote those, and can a public institution even do that? And I know that we had talked about it, and the answer was no. And it wasn't done through any proper procedure. So I'd like to find out whatever we have on our books for, policy-wise or whatever, for when separations are done and how they're done, so that it, has to be guaranteed through some process that we understand and know, and that, not to do that. And hopefully this will never be an issue in the future. But quite honestly, we've had it more than once now. And so I think we need to have, understand what that policy is now and what we need to do to, what I would say just be a standard operating procedure understood, that it has to, go through whatever legal counsel and, again, so that we do not have this as an issue. So it's not a question.
Well, let me say what I just said, but I think everything you're saying, is the inherency that I see in your policies. How you separate out, and I'll take 2 seconds on this, you have a lot of other work to do. There's an inherent misbalance within your policies, and it's both with your general counsel policy, but with the remainder of your policies, that don't have a specific delineation of the balance between your board and your CEO. And the balance between staff and the board, and the balance of how you get your general counsel services. It's kind of like a stool, a three-legged stool, and they're not matching up, because that is how and this is not casting aspersions on anybody who's been in these roles. This is the governance of your organization is not meeting up with how it needs to run. And it's very clear to me, and candidly, it's been very clear in your policies since I've gotten involved. and I have wanted to find the opportunity and the time to make these changes. They just got highlighted very specifically over the last 6 months. And I think that you can have an organization that meets everybody's needs, but also has the right balance. And I think that as you look at what the state wants to see, I think that's an important part of it. So everything you're saying is very clear to me, at least, having been involved in so many different governmental organizations over my career, that the balance is not right. And I want to work on that balance. What's one of the reasons I'm suggesting, because unfortunately today just talking about the general counsel services, and I really do have some very significant thoughts on how your legal services are being provided and would not allow what you're talking about to occur. And again, this isn't casting aspersions. Your policies aren't balanced right, and that's really your governance isn't balanced right. So I want to work on that. But what I'm suggesting is we do a workshop. Let's do it virtual, so anybody who can attend can attend. So it's not something that you have to be here physical. We could do it in the summer, in the next month or two. I'm going to be out of town for a couple weeks, but other than that, I'm available all summer. And I want us to go through them. And I think it's a really good idea. We'll have David Adams attend that as well, so he can talk about the bigger issues that he's been looking at, and then we can talk about the specific policies we need to look at. And it's the right time for this exercise, and the state, in my opinion, the way they've revisited the language allows us this opportunity, and we really need to take advantage of it. So in line with what you're saying, that's my recommendation. Mm-hmm. We'll go ahead and have staff find times during it'll either be late June or early July where we can have a half a day focus to this. You can come as you can, but at least everybody will have an opportunity to listen to some of my thoughts, listen to David Adams. We'll find a date that he's available and proceed that forward and make that part of the planning process with the FDOT as they're doing their studies.
Okay, I have about 20 more things, but I'll let them go. But I feel a sense of urgency about dealing with this and so much else that I feel is somehow we have just traveled so far from, to me, norms, standard operating procedures, whatever, that, and I do not understand it. And I think it's really hurt us incredibly. I don't think I have to tell anybody on this board or community, unfortunately, about that. But I look forward to working on that. And I think time is of the essence, not in that I don't trust Mr. Drainville, but I really just would like to see that we address these things, because it is just really, really hurt our organization that we haven't had these policies in place.
Would you like to make a motion to that effect, or?
Sure, I'll make a motion to that effect, at least with these two. There's many more, but
Yes.
with regard to these two, I'll move that.
Okay, do we have a second? And for your motion, as I understand it, it's for staff to look at guardrails, as you said, protections for severance pay to come before the HART board.
Severance pay, as well as the second thing would be how these severance are issued. Like what?
Yeah.
I as I understood it, it was not going through any procedures that we've expected in the past, and so contracts were being written that aren't even that it violates the law.
And I see Commissioner Wassel. Go ahead, sir.
I'll second the motion, but I will say I have had many conversations with the interim CEO that, I do 100% agree that we have to move with a sense of urgency. You and I have had this conversation. This is not, we have a broken window. The ceiling is on fire, and we need to move with that sense of urgency. So I feel like, even though I'm seconding it and I'm going to support it, this is a small piecemeal of just a large spectrum of things. So I don't want the board to get too lost. We have to do a massive overhaul, not small calibration. So I'm going to second the motion, and I hope everybody understands what I'm saying.
And Ms. Mandel and then Board Member Williams.
I only, not to interrupt your process, I just want to make the statement so that everybody understands that I understand that those two issues are not the only, this is a bigger issue of balance of your governance. And in your, if you balance your governance right, that should have never happened.
I just would agree with all that.
And Commissioner, were you finished, sir? Okay, great, thank you. Director Williams, go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. I don't want us to lose track of the fact that some of those things that happened were overtly done. So from the standpoint of having processes in place, I think if there's a change and we're reshuffling an entire structure, I think that is in itself warrants some conversation around that. And if it can't be discussed during the board meeting, we do need to discuss it during the Finance and Audit Committee meeting where we are looking at severances and so forth to make sure that budget lines up and we really have more time to vet processes out. But it is fair to say that any of us would think that if there's a large number of people or resource issues taking place and we're looking at our budget in comparison to our severance either way, we should be reviewing that. I would say that's an inherent process, I mean, that's taken place, and I'm not sure why it was not followed, but I do believe we need to put processes in place that we see that are standard, written, and so forth. But I do want to couch the fact that there are things that may happen, and we would expect people to bring it to our attention.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Kemp, seconded by Commissioner Wassel. Roll call, please.
Chair Vera?
Yes.
Director Owen?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Wolsel?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank
sir.
you. Any other new business? Okay, the HART Board meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time today, and please note that the Finance Audit Committee will be meeting immediately after. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.